or in ISO. There's two. How many of you have gone to a bar and they say, let me see your ID, and then they put it through a scanner or they put it under a camera and whatever? Pretty much everybody. Well, you should know that that does not only stay with the bar, it goes into a big database. 17 million new, not 17 million, 17 million new records a year get added. Even from states where driving records are closed due to privacy, thank you very much, you've just given it to a new database. Now, Rambam's first law of data use. All data will eventually be used for some unintended purpose. Perfect example, Domino's Pizza. How is it that when you dial 1-800-CRAPPY-PIZZA or whatever their number is, they are able to route that call to the Domino's next door to you, even though it's probably ringing in Nebraska in a prison somewhere or something? The person who answers it is your local Domino's, and he says, hi, Bob, what would you like to order today? The answer is, they have access to the CNAM data. They have access to your previous purchasing history. They have access to a whole host of databases, and they built the biggest customer database in America. Bigger than Walmart's, bigger than Sears, bigger than the car companies. This is the biggest consumer database in America. And let's say you're trying to hide from your ex-wife. Let's say you're trying to hide from the cops. You never think to hide from Domino's. Yeah, this is Bob Jones. I'm at 123 Main Street. Yeah, I'm the guy who always orders, you know, the extra pineapple, double deep dish. Yeah, okay, bring a couple of bottles of soda, see you in 20 minutes. U.S. Marshal Service bought this database, so help me God. This database is now being used to track down felons, so if any of you are wanted, and you've recently ordered Domino's Pizza, move. Who else has bought pizza databases? NYPD, U.S. Marshal Service, collection agencies, credit bureaus buy it up. By the way, I'm going to start going through this a little bit like a speed freak, because in 45 minutes we're going to do the Q&A, which is always the best part of the talk, and I want to leave a full hour for that. Points of purchase. Every time you use a credit card, every time you use an affinity card, every time you use a frequent purchaser card, it goes into that great database. Why? People want to know you buy pork rinds. People want to know you buy 5-6 packs of beer a week. There's stuff they can sell you, you lush. You know, like AA mailings. Now, it sounds like a joke. Remember Rambam's first law of unintended data use, or unanticipated data use. Stop and Shop, or Stop and Rob as we used to call it. The supermarket chain decided, hey, we've got all these Stop and Shop affinity purchasers who we know everything they buy and everything they like. And guess what? We know if they eat salty food. We know if they buy a lot of booze. We know if they buy the extra fatty bacon. We're going to sell this to the local HMOs. And the HMOs are going to be able to use it to do underwriting on your premiums. Is it likely this guy is going to stroke out or fall drunk in front of a bus, and we're going to have to give him more medical care? This is good for us to know. So they started a program called, obnoxiously called Smart Mouth. And by the way, the uproar in Boston was so great, so enormous, that they even had local assembly hearings about it. Stop and Shop said, okay, we changed our mind, we won't do it. Perfect example, though, of what's possible. Investigators' holy grail number 2. Now it gets scary. Trackers. First thing I want is your photo, so I know it's you when I find you. Second thing I want to do, as soon as I get that photo, is find you. Let's talk about all the ways that I can tell where you are at this moment or where you are at any given moment in time. Well, you use Microsoft, Any Microsoft program, you boot up the laptop, you start up the computer, it phones home. Apple, same thing. Windows Media Player, same thing. Anytime you log into anything, same thing. It tells me exactly where you're connected. Representative implementations of this. AOL now has a plugin that allows anybody on your buddy list, if you both have the plugin, to find you, and you can find them based on the Skyhook system, which we're going to talk about, based on the mapping of every single node in America. How many people here decided to be wonderful, generous humanitarians and buy that one laptop per child? A lot of people. Well, guess what? There's something on that called Bitfrost that calls into the one laptop per child server every single day, and you can't disable it. Trade it in, sell it on eBay. Internet Explorer. Anytime you have activated software, and it's phoning home. Even we calls in. Here's an example of what it reports every time you log in. Obviously, who you are, the node you're calling in from, what games you played, the date, the time, the screen position, the widescreen settings, TV resolution, screen burn-in reduction, whether it's on or off, whether you're using stereo, and I mean, it goes all the way down. Everything reports on you. OnStar. OnStar can be turned on remotely with a warrant, and it's been done thousands of times. EasyPass, iPass, SunPass, obviously. Metro cards. If you buy a Metro card with your credit card, I know where Bob is at every moment he travels on the subway and swipes that card. Passenger lists, car chips, digital license plate readers. This is the new technology. Hundreds of thousands, no exaggeration, hundreds of thousands of cameras are being deployed around the country, and you're going to see a video of this in a second. And in patrol cars that's at 60 miles an hour can still capture license plates at the rate of 3,000 an hour. Anytime your car is anywhere or moving anywhere, it's in a database. Unique serial numbers. Every single piece of hardware. Forget about MAC addresses. We all know about MAC addresses. Every time you burn a CD or a DVD, unique serial number embedded in that. Every time you take a picture with a camera, and we're going to be talking about that in a second, there's an EXIF tag that identifies you. New satellites coming online. You have your cell phone, it's GPS enabled. In 2 years, I'm going to be able to know within 6 inches where you are. Let's talk about cell phones. Cell phones are the most significant development, bar none. We're going to talk a little bit about cameras. We're going to talk a little bit more about intensely targeted marketing. But this is the #1 issue. That cell phone can be immediately traced to you. That cell phone is with you 24/7. I know where you are. I know who you're hanging out with. I know how long you're there. I know Bob went over to Susan's house, stayed for 3 hours, left, got on the subway, got off the subway at this location, had a slice of pizza, went home, went to sleep, without tailing you. I know that from your cell phone. I know, it sounds like Santa Claus. I know when you're sleeping. I know when you're awake. I know who you're hanging out with, so I know if you've been bad or good. It's really that significant. Because of Skyhook, because of GPS, because of databases like Navtech that tell me if you're at such and such GPS coordinates, that's Tammy's Boom Boom Room. If you're at such and such coordinates, it's a bar, it's a car rental agency, it's a motel. I know where you are and I know what's there. Every single cell phone company, they're not trying to hide this. They're selling this as an add-on. Track your kids, track your friends. Use it to identify your current location. But tracking goes in 2 directions. MapQuest, even MapQuest is using it. MoloGogo, they're trying to get you to put a download on your phone. This, by the way, is probably the most patronized company by investigators because there's a, where is it? That cell phone there, they sell you an anonymous cell phone with GPS tracking with everything already activated and prepaid. You can stick this in an OtterBox into somebody's car, track their car 24/7. And if they find it and they go, hey, there's a tracker here, you're not going to know whose tracker it is. So if you find that under your car, you know why. The new iPhone. The new iPhone is the trend of the future. Everybody is going to have an intensely location-aware cell phone. Okay, just out of curiosity, show of hands real quick. How many people here know what Skyhook is? Outstanding, at least half of you. For those of you who don't, 500 people spent 5 years going around essentially war driving for money, recording MAC addresses and locations. This is supplemental now on every enabled cell phone. Not only do I have your GPS, but it tells me, okay, that cell phone's Wi-Fi is 100 feet to the south of a MAC address that I know is at 123 Main Street. So even if you're in a canyon in Manhattan, I know where you are from Wi-Fi. The stats are 55 million Wi-Fi nodes and hotspots mapped. 55 million, 75% of the US. And if you want to get into that whole Terminator, Skynet frame of mind, this system is self-healing. Let's say they know about a router or a MAC address that's been in Chicago. And all of a sudden, in 3 weeks, a cell phone that they know is in New York because of 5 other nodes picks up that previously in Chicago MAC address in New York. The system knows to go, the system is smart enough to say to itself, aha, Bob took his router and now he's living in New York. And it self-corrects. And it will keep growing and growing and growing. The cell phone detects a new Wi-Fi node, a new MAC address. It knows from 4 other nodes where that is. It records that new node. The iPhone, which probably everybody in this room is going to ultimately own, or some version thereof, uses both GPS and Skyhook. You can't hide. Now, let me just say, the only way to hide from this, to keep me from knowing where you are at every moment, is to take out the battery. Oh, wait a second, you can't take the battery out of an iPhone. Oh, well. Now, it's not enough that I know where you are. I also know what's there. There are databases that map every single location. At this GPS coordinate is 123 Main Street, and we know from business records that 123 Main Street is Bob's Bar and Grill. So we know from Hector's cell phone GPS location, he spent the past 4 hours at the Bar and Grill. And this is, I mean, very openly marketed. I want to give you an I want to talk to you about something. This is a system that's actually being developed by a really close friend of mine named Gabby in Israel. It's called Rabbi. Rabbi stands, R-A-B-B-I, R-A-A-B-I, stands for Relationship and Activity Analysis and Behavior Informant. What does it mean? It means the cell phone in your pocket is ratting you out 24/7. That phone tells me where you are, when you're there, when you're awake, when you're in motion, and by checking other cell phones, who you're hanging out with. Here's an example. Now, by the way, why is it Italian mafia people? For those of you that are Italian, I'm part Italian, I'm sorry. I don't mean to discriminate against you, but the Gambino family does not have an anti-defamation league, and so we're using them. I want you to imagine this is all from cell phones. And this, by the way, is a half-hour conversation when I'm speaking to law enforcement groups, because this is the new trend of law enforcement. Remote monitoring